No? All right, well, we're going to go. Nothing important is being said yet. First off, silence your phones, please. Second of all, we've got the air as low as it can go. Hopefully it'll cool the room down here pretty soon. We want to thank everybody for coming tonight. The candidates were all given the rules. We have a couple questions to go through. Time permitting, at the end, we have tables set up from 6 through 1 for each ward. The candidates will go to their table. If you have a question that was not addressed, you can go ahead and talk to them about that at that point in time. One of the important things I want to talk about tonight is we're all here because we enjoy Prairie Village. We love living in Prairie Village. Every one of these candidates is giving of their time. They want the best for Prairie Village as well. I want decorum tonight. I want respect of the candidates. I don't want booing and hissing or screaming. I'm sure you saw the security here. We've got some heavies. We won't hesitate to take you out. Hopefully without any trouble. So, you guys didn't come here to listen to me. I'm going to turn it over to Pete. Pete Mundo has been leading the Kansas City Morning Talk format for nearly a decade. His show on 95.7 FM KCMO Talk Radio covers local and national stories of the day from news, culture, and sports. Before coming to Kansas City, he was working in New York City as a host and an anchor at Fox News Radio, WFAN Sports Radio, CBS Sports Radio, and Sports Illustrated. Pete and his wife have 3 young daughters. His well-rounded knowledge brings a fresh perspective to news, politics, sports, and the local topics that affect our community. He is also a regular contributor to the local TV stations as a political analyst. So, without further ado, Pete Mundo.
When we were here 2 years ago, I offered this up. I'll offer it again. Save your commentary for the morning on the radio. If you really feel strongly about something, don't yell at these folks. You can yell at me in the morning. I'll take the heat, okay? It'll be much more entertaining, and your audience will be much bigger than just this room as well. So save your good stuff for the morning. Let these folks all speak tonight. So we'll just get right into it. Everyone in front of us has the rules for tonight. So just so you know how we're going to do this, we're going to do opening statements. Left to right, we'll do closing statements, right to left. All right, so we'll start with the opening statement, and we'll start with Daniel Garrett, Ward 1. However you guys want to do it.
Stage spot. Yep. Just for time consideration, you got to stay up there.
Yes. Good evening, everybody. My name is Daniel Garrett. Can everybody hear me in the back, hopefully?
Yeah, go for it, Dan.
Great turnout tonight. I think this is really a tribute to Prairie Village and the engagement that I've seen from everybody. Can't hear you. Can't hear? No.
Talk louder.
Okay.
We'll be screaming at some point.
Any better? A little bit? Okay. Well, I'll still try to speak up here, but my name is Daniel Garrett. I moved here with my wife and my young son a few years ago in Prairie Village. And, you know, when my wife and I walk around, we move pretty quickly. There are some different neighborhoods we were looking at. Shawnee, Overland Park, Roland Park. Didn't quite know, you know, what we were looking for. We just knew we had to move, and we look at each other all the time, and we fell in the perfect place for our family. We're on El Monte, right next to Prairie Elementary, and we just couldn't be happier. So we moved here a few years ago with my son. Since then, we've added a daughter. She just turned 2, and for some reason, we added a 3-month-old puppy to that mix as well. So we're growing the family here. But you'll hear 3 themes tonight as I speak to you. And those are transparency, which is important for local government, listening to the residents, again, it builds on that theme of transparency, and then civility and engaging in civil discourse. So I'm looking forward to sharing my responses with you tonight. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Cole Robinson. I'm the incumbent for City Council in Ward 1. I appreciate the opportunity to meet my opponent tonight. As a fellow young dad, I empathize with the struggle of trying to balance everything and also give back to the community. So I very much appreciate the dialogue and being able to campaign with and against you this year. A little bit about me, I'm a third generation Prairie Village resident, born and raised here. Went to Tomahawk Elementary, graduated from Junction East. Like a lot of folks I grew up with, I moved away for a time. And like a lot of folks I know, moved back to this wonderful community when it came time to raise my family. I have 4 kids. I'm married to my wife, Danielle. We know what a wonderful community this is. It has been an honor the past 4 years to work with so many of you to determine the future of our city, and also to, just from a personal standpoint, to give back to a place that I have loved so much, that has meant so much to me and provided me a foundation to go out in the world and do so many incredible things. So I appreciate everyone being here tonight and I look forward to the conversation.
Good evening. My name is Edward Boersma. I'm running for City Council for Ward 2. My biggest reason is I want to represent my neighbors and my friends and everybody in Ward 2. I've got a background in mechanical engineering. From that, I've learned to solve problems and deliver results. I'm a small business owner. I've got a background in real estate development, finance, and management. Before that, I worked in the oil and gas industry, running directional drilling tools and formation evaluation tools on rigs before I was recruited to the cutting-edge software development team. Throughout my life, I've been blessed to work with people of different backgrounds, and I've worked with people as executives, business owners, managers, drillers, and roughnecks. I believe this experience has given me what I need to be a valuable member of the Prairie Village City Council. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Prairie Village United, for having this forum. I almost wasn't able to come. I was scheduled to be in Albuquerque this week for a law conference, but was able to change those predetermined reservations. It's important for us to be showing up, being here for the citizens, being here for the residents, being here for all of you, showing up on City Council, showing up wherever we need to be. I've been a resident of Prairie Village since 1983, however long that is, and I've had 2 different residences here. I'm on the Prairie Village Homes Association board and have been for the last 17 years. And it is because of the Prairie Village Homes Association Board that we have been trying to preserve old Prairie Village at least, and make sure that it doesn't change into South Overland Park.
Good evening, my name is Amy Aldrich and I'm a candidate for Ward 3. I have lived in Prairie Village since 2003. I was 25 years old when I bought my home. Don't do the math, but I'm 47. Anyway, I'm very proud to live in Prairie Village, and while I was not raised here, I did grow up just on the other side of the state line. My first job was at Lower Littles and I was able to walk there. So I didn't move too far from where I grew up. I actually lived 2.5 blocks from where I was raised, and my parents now live just a block away from me. They live in Prairie Village, so does my brother. Some background on me is I'm a senior sales engineer and I sell complex banking software platforms to financial institutions. I'm also a small business owner. So I'm really excited for this opportunity, and thank you all for coming out this evening.
Good evening, I'm Shelby Bartelt. I'm the other Ward 3 candidate. First and foremost, thank you all so much for being here, for engaging and being willing to show up. It's an honor to be standing here in front of all of you. I'd like to share a little bit more about who I am and just affirm that who I am today is the same person I will be on November 5th, regardless of the results of this election. I'm a mom of 3 little ones, 7, 4, and 2. I work daily as a residential mortgage lender, and we have lived in Prairie Village since 2017. I am so honored to be here and look forward to the opportunity to serve all of the residents. If you have any questions for me that we don't address tonight, I am an open book. I started my career in luxury hospitality with the Ritz-Carlton. That motto is ladies and gentlemen, serving ladies and gentlemen, and that is the same spirit that I hope to bring as your council member. Thank you.
Good evening to everyone. I'm Kelly Sullivan-Ingalls. I am candidate in Ward 4, and I am going to hop to it to say right now what Prairie Village needs, and the reason why I'm running is we need common sense and business sense in running our city. Not politically driven spending priorities. I'm a business attorney, I'm a mom of 3 young adults, college and senior in high school. I'm a wife to my wonderful husband who's back here. And I want to run the city with my colleagues as a business, as a responsible business, not as some sort of political platform for our partisan politicians. My focus will be on responsible spending, on common sense priorities, and a voice for the residents.
I'm John Meter. I'm running for City Council in Ward 5. I'm a 30-plus year resident of Prairie Village. My wife Steph and I have raised 2 kids here. They're long gone, but that causes you to form a real emotional connection with the town that kind of turns into your hometown. And I care deeply about our city and its direction right now. I've lived a life of balancing budgets and listening to customers and suppliers and shareholders and having to listen and meet their needs. I've made some tough financial decisions in my life, and I've had the opportunity to lead small and large organizations. I'm not a politician, I'm a neighbor, and I'm running because I believe that I can contribute serious skills and important skills to our city council. I won't be beholden to anyone. I am financing my campaign myself. The only people I'm beholden to are the citizens of Ward 5. And you can count on me to keep their interests met. I will work with anyone as long as they want to be more accountable, more transparent, and more fiscally responsible with our government.
Hi, I'm Betsy Lawrence. I am running in Ward 5, and like many of you, I love Prairie Village. I think this is a great place to live, and I feel called to run for office because I want to protect and preserve what we love, and definitely not abandon it. I would love to go through all my professional qualifications for office, but we only have a minute, and so I would ask you to go to LinkedIn, go to my campaign website to learn about my professional career as an attorney, as an executive, and the skills that I have that I will bring to City Council. So I want to highlight, though, what I think is my most important skill or qualification for office, and that is I'm a good neighbor. And I will continue to be a good neighbor regardless of the outcome of this election, whether I'm on council or not on council. And I am determined to contribute to an atmosphere where neighbors can continue to go to second Sunday coffees, right? Where we can go to HOA happy hours, where Kelly and her husband can walk by our house with their dogs and my husband waves swim in the morning, right? Where I can compliment John on his wife's beautiful holiday decorations that we look forward to every year. So let's come together, give each other grace and kindness, and make Prairie Village continue to be a great place it is to live.
Hi, I'm Dan Presson. I'm running for Ward 6. I moved here probably about 30 years ago, and I got a great deal on a house from a woman named Lily. She was the first owner, and I was going to fix it up and flip it. I failed. I love Prairie Village. I didn't think that was going to happen. So here I am 30 years later. One of the things I love about Prairie Village are the people. They're not your neighbors, they're your friends, whether they're across the street or behind you. I come from a background of service. I do engineering, recruiting, consulting, so I'm bringing clients and companies and people together. What I want to do is focus on fiscal responsibility as well as your right to vote. I think Prairie Village has so much to offer, and I do want to preserve what makes Prairie Village so special. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Jim Sellers. My wife Elizabeth and I have lived in Prairie Village for 7 years, along with our 2 dogs, Lewis and Clark. I'm here because I want to meet real people where they get real services from their government. After a 4-decade career in business with some of America's greatest companies, Procter & Gamble, Coca-Cola, and FedEx, to name 3, I've lived all over the United States, so I have experience in what makes communities great and not so great. Prairie Village is a great community. I will measure my success should I end up as your Ward 6 councilor by one criteria only, and that's keeping Prairie Village the amazing community that it is today. Thank you.
We've got 3 questions. City Council purchased a large church on Mission Road as part of a $30 million proposal to tear the church down and build a brand new city hall from the ground up, while also renovating the existing city hall building. With 30 years of bond payments, the total project will rise to upwards of $50 million, not counting the significant annual costs that would be needed to maintain and operate 2 government buildings instead of 1 for decades to come. One of the reasons cited by the City Council for moving forward this year is so $27 million in bonds can be sold quickly to finance the project. However, many citizens have questioned the large size and cost of the project in a community of just 23,000 people and say it could be significantly scaled back. They've asked the City Council to put the issue to a public vote before proceeding. If you are a current City Council member, please explain your opposition to a public vote and why you think a project of this scope is the best thing for taxpayers. If you are not on City Council, please tell us if you consider this project to be the city's most important priority for new spending and whether you would allow the people to vote on the issue.
So, City Hall, pretty big issue, right? We see signs around. It's the first question at this forum. I think there have been articles written about this in local newspapers. I would say that right there inherently tells us that we need a public vote. People are very interested in this subject. They've researched. They're well informed. When I go around knocking doors and, I kind of lob out the, are you involved in the city politics? I'm sure people here have heard the spiel, and people will kind of say, yeah. And then I'll say, City Hall, does that ring a bell? And everybody kind of lights up because, again, we all know the issues there. And what I end up discussing with people, going door to door, they're asking questions about, the financing, the debt, how does that affect future projects, can we still maintain other infrastructure? And I don't hear a lot of, build it or don't build it. I don't hear a lot of that. What I hear is, I appreciate the information, I want to do my own research, and I want to have a voice, I want to have a vote on this. And I think that's part of what makes Prairie Village so special, is that the citizens, the residents are engaged. We are discussing the finances and the issues here. And when people say they want to do their own research and make an informed vote, it doesn't get any better than that in terms of civic engagement and being with your residents. So my opinion is to put this to a vote, but again, it's about what the residents want after a well-informed decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Pete, for the question. Thank you to Prairie Village United for the question as well. Municipal Campus Project, which was passed in June, it touches the 2 most important buildings, not just in Prairie Village, but in any city. So our police department and our city hall. One of the first things I did when I was elected in 2021 was sit down with our police chief at the time, Byron Roberson, and he was like, hey, I want to take you on a tour of this building. Have you ever toured the police department? I was like, no, I haven't. It was a fairly intentional decision because some of the things I saw, not just as a city councilor, but as a resident, a longtime resident of the city, officers working out of storage closets, overcrowded, other office space that's overcrowded. Since then, we've added a K9 unit. The K9 unit now works out of an interior storage closet. Our property in evidence is at such an overflow state that they had to convert a garage bay behind the police station into gated off evidence and property storage that's not climate controlled. So you see very real needs in our PD to start. And then on the City Hall side as well, you have a building that's older than the police department. Also, staff has been added over the past several decades. It needs a heavy renovation no matter what. One of the first things we did when I was elected after 2021 was to begin studying this plan. This has been a 4-year process. One of the main roles, maybe the main role of anyone elected to the City Council, anyone up here who is elected to the City Council, is to determine how to solve the needs of the city. In this city, over the past 74 years of its existence, has handled and addressed needs large and small through its city council, whether it be the council that passed this wonderful development project here in Meadowbrook, the council that passed the Public Works facility, the council that passed the $10 million road bond in 2009, or various other infrastructure bonds through the last decade. The system has worked incredibly well to make these decisions at the council level. So I'm supportive of that. I was elected to do that. In 26 days, we can continue electing representatives to study and make these decisions and to lead on behalf of the residents.
So my short answer is yes. the residents of Prairie Village should vote on a bond issue this large. Number two, building a new city hall is not an infrastructure project. Completely different. I've studied the engineering reports for our current municipal building. That building is structurally solid. We can easily renovate that. As a matter of fact, in July of 2023, our city engineer put out a plan for a heavy renovation that would save us $10 million or up to $10 million up front and over $8 million for 30 years. This plan covers all of the programming needs that were defined by the city, but it was rejected by the current city council. My belief is that the city has not had an opportunity to discuss as a community what should be done with this church that was purchased. It was purchased and months later it was decided to be torn down. I think that's completely inappropriate. We have a city or a county library that is looking for a new spot. They're looking in a 2-mile radius. They're not looking at Prairie Village. They're looking at Johnson County. Again, I believe we should be renovating City Hall. And if for some reason we should tear down City Hall, we should use the church as a temporary City Hall and build in place. That way we still only have one municipal building that we have to pay for generations to come. Thank you.
And just real quick, if you could just state your name before your answer. They've got audio for us, so they just want to make sure we have everyone's name before your answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Again, I'm Ron Nelson. I am a current sitting council member for Ward 2. And first of all, Pete, the question that you asked has a bunch of misinformation, false information within it. First of all, I want to correct some of that. There was the statement that $50 million over 30 years. Depends on your mathematics. Now, if you buy a $500,000 house, you don't say, well, I'm paying $750,000 for it. You're paying $500,000 and you're getting a mortgage for 15 or 30 years. Let's be honest with the facts and with questions. You're paying $500,000 and you're getting a mortgage. Same thing here. There is time value of money. As I explained to my daughter when she was little, time value of money has a significance. It is not you add up everything over the next 30 years and then combine that together to see what the current amount is. That is ridiculous. You don't do that. The current value, the current cost tops out at $30,000. Now, with regard to some other matters, the council has already looked at 18 different possible plans. And the plan that my opponent referenced was one of those that was looked at. And because it was a renovation, it was not going to be satisfactory either for the police department or anyone else in Prairie Village. We looked at this as a long-term matter, not as a short-term solution.
My name is Amy Aldrich, Ward 3, and I could go on and on about this issue, but really my answer is very simple. The residents deserve the right to vote on the largest expenditure. It's our money. Third graders know this. It's our money. Let us vote. So that is where I stand. Again, I could go on and on. I understand that the police are overcrowded. I am am a huge supporter of our police force. I believe they deserve a better working environment, but let's explore other options instead of spending $30 million without interest on building a city hall that won't benefit too many individuals. I just want to ask, one thing that I've asked a lot of residents when I go door to door is, how many times have you been to City Hall? I'll tell you how many times I've been to City Hall. It's been 4 times, and that's over 20 years. That's not a very good average, just saying. So I think that the residents do deserve the right to vote, absolutely, and that is where I stand. Thank you.
I'm Shelby Bartelt in Ward 3, and as it relates to the municipal complex, I know that this is a very tricky situation. There's so many residents that have a lot of passion about it, and on November 5th, there are going to be a lot of residents that are either excited at what is moving forward or disappointed in what is not moving forward. And so what I would say is that our elected city council voted 9-2 to move this forward. You know, there's mention of think of the generations to come. I do. Every morning when I wake up and get my children ready to go to school that I get the privilege of walking them to in our neighborhood. I go to City Hall. I go to the municipal complex. For city council meetings, I go to Village Fest with my children every single year, and I've got a picture of them on my fridge right in front of the Village Fest sign. You know, what I would also point out is having toured these facilities, I've seen the need, and I continue to encourage residents to do exactly that. One item that hasn't been mentioned are the safety concerns that are currently in place for our city hall. You know, as a mom of 3 little ones, I am committed to this volunteer position for the next 4 years, that every other Monday night will take me away from my children. And so I would ask, what is that safety worth? For me to be able to serve our community and to be able to go home to my children on Monday night safely. I think this project is of impeccable importance. It's trust in our city servants, it's trust in the residents, and I would kindly ask that if you have any concerns about it, take the tour. Go and see the facilities for yourself. I think it is of incredible importance. I truly believe that safety is of paramount importance to everyone in this room. So thank you.
Kelly Sullivan, Angles Ward 4 candidate. I'll just say initially, the price tag for this project, in my own opinion, is outrageous. If we're going to spend the kind of debt, if we're going to incur the kind of debt that is the largest in our city's history, we should have a vote on it. Our citizens should have a vote on that. And by the way, the police department, which is a priority for the city, only gets about $4.5 million out of this $30 million obligation. So that's before interest or anything else. You know, if there are alternatives, and there have been alternatives studied, I do think that they should be made available to the public. All of the alternatives that perhaps were studied, that have been cited, are not made available to the public. The proposal was passed before any of the public had a chance to see what alternatives might be available. And I'm not opposed to changing things. I think I understand that our current city hall actually was built by an architect with the intention of expanding it. So the current plans and the current model of our city hall should be amenable to expansion for both for the police department and any other city administrative needs. We don't need to have 2 buildings and a monstrosity down in the library building. The church building, I'm sorry, which could be sold to the library, by the way. And long term, no one knows what kind of facilities our city's going to need for administrative purposes in the long term. Who would have thought 5 years ago that anybody would have needed less commercial space? How do we know with AI in the next 5 years, 10 years, I don't know how many years, that we're going to need the kind of space that is contemplated for this large expenditure for City Hall?
John Beater, Ward 5. I'll just start out by saying we need to vote on the City Hall. I am in favor of the police renovations. That's $4 to $5 million of what was a total $30 million budget before all the interest. I don't want to talk about the police renovation. I want to talk about the other parts of the project. The building that we are proposing to build is a $23 million building. It's about 23,000 square feet for 22 employees. That's $1 million an employee. So I scratch my head and I go, wow, that seems a little high, but I need to be fair. Someone's thought this through. So I looked at the fact that it was $1,000 a square foot, and I said, what other buildings have been built around Johnson County that are public buildings that might be comparable to our city hall? How about the Tomahawk Elementary School over on Lamar? Y'all know that one? Okay. $31 million building, just completed, 80,000 square feet, $400 a square foot. How about the Mission City Hall? $300 a square foot. The Roland Park City Hall, $400 a square foot. How about the fire stations that we just built, 2 of them, between $300 and $400 a square foot each? Our Prairie Village Town Hall, $1,000 a square foot. So I said, you know, I'm probably still not being fair. I'm sure the city council thought about this. So I thought about it another way. How much can you get for $1,000 a square foot if you're building something else? How about a level 4 security bio lab with ballistic windows and high pressure HVAC, $1,000 a foot? How about a luxury condominium in New York City with marble floors and all the amenities, $1,000 a square foot? How about a bespoke museum like the Guggenheim, $1,000 a square foot? We're going to spend $1,000 a square foot on the Prairie Village City Hall. That's extraordinary. It's extravagant. The people deserve the vote.
First just acknowledge the elephant in the room here, right? This is a PV United form for PV United candidates. We've all gotten mailers, we know this is the slate. And so this is not the most comfortable environment for me because I'm not a PV United candidate, I'm an independent candidate. But I'm here, right? And I am here, I didn't negotiate the terms of or the conditions of my appearance. I certainly didn't let someone else negotiate the terms of my appearance. But I am here even though it's not the most comfortable setting for me, because how can you expect me to show up for you as your Ward 5 representative if I can't show up even when things are personally uncomfortable for me, right? We're gonna have some difficult decisions at City Hall, and so that's why I'm here. With respect to the municipal project and the solution that 9 out of the 12 of our elected representatives voted for. It was studied for over 4 years. There were 18 different solutions. I spent a lot of time going through the city documents, looking through the various proposals, meeting with the project manager, and I don't know which solution I would have chosen, but I did come away knowing that it was a disciplined process where questions were asked. And here's the deal, that's representative democracy. We have voted. I voted for 2 city council representatives, and the fact that this vote was 9 to 12 tells me that and these are all ranges, right? These are lifelong Republicans, lifelong Democrats, liberals, conservatives, the whole spectrum that voted in favor of this plan, including 2 PV United elected candidates from the last go. Yes. So, you know, that's representative democracy, and I am opposed to setting aside that vote because some people don't like the way that it went, right? That's destructive.
Dan Pressing, Ward 6. Short and simple, this is the largest city project in Prairie Village's history. You should have the right to vote on that. I look at it in 2 different ways. I look at it needs and obligations versus wants. The city hall is a want. The new city administration building is a want. It's a $50 million want for 22 employees. I don't know how many of you go to the city administration building, but if you go there, I have a feeling you're not going to have a hard time finding a parking spot. I have a feeling you're not going to have to kind of get through the huge crowds to get in. If we're going to spend $50 million to get dog tags out quicker, that's up to you. Needs and obligations, that's the police. I am all for funding their facilities, funding their equipment, and making sure they have what they need. As we said, there's $4.5 million going to the police out of this this proposal, I want to focus on giving them what they need. They protect us every day. They give back to us every day. I would rather refocus the monies that we're going to be spent on a brand new city hall on them. It's plain and simple, guys. It's needs and obligations versus want. A new Prairie Village City Hall is a want. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jim Sellers, Ward 6. And, you know, it troubles me to hear that the police are a priority from 6 individuals who, when the city administrator invited 12 candidates to City Hall to meet department heads, tour the facility and understand what the situation is, that only 6 showed up. 6 did not show up. Yet there's a lot of confidence being expressed here in the fact that the options that are being presented are ones that have been fully vetted. Here's a couple facts. These are 2 facilities, one built in almost 50 years ago, in 71, one built in 94. They're built to pre-9/11 security standards. In the municipal court, plaintiffs and defendants and judges share a bathroom. The City Hall was built to residential code standards with a large amount of wood. There is inadequate sprinkling throughout the building. So there's a substantial need to address the issues of the police, the court employees, and the City Hall employees that make our city function. I believe that I had a vote when I voted to elect 2 representatives, 2 councilors from my ward, who then, along with 12 smart people, ended up deciding 9-2 that this made sense, not just for Prairie Village now, but for our kids and for our kids' kids. Thank you.
All right, our next question, we'll start with the Ward 2 candidates. Just a reminder to keep the commentary to yourselves. You can check in the morning. All right, here we go. Question number 2 tonight. In 2023, and in the years since, there has been significant public discussion about zoning regulations in Prairie Village single-family residential neighborhoods. Some of the City Council have advocated for changes that would eliminate existing property owners' protest rights and allow increased population density in residential neighborhoods. Others have spoken up to protect the existing zoning approach, saying increased density would harm our quality of life due to increased traffic, school overcrowding, and strained infrastructure. What is your view? Do you support zoning changes that would lead to multifamily housing in Prairie Village single-family neighborhoods? Why or why not? We'll start with Ed in Ward 2.
Thank you. Edward Boersma, Ward 2. I do not support changing or rewriting the residential zoning code in Prairie Village to allow multifamily. This decision will greatly impact Prairie Village in a negative way. It will negatively impact our infrastructure, the streets, our schools, and the fact of the matter is almost everybody moved and currently lives in Prairie Village because they love this beautiful single-family community. We didn't move here to have apartments buildings or just triplexes built next door. I 100% support the single-family zoned lots not being changed. Thank you.
Again, thank you, Pete, for the question. I'm Ron Nelson, Ward 2. And again, Pete, your question is flat wrong. It assumes things, excuse me, people, it assumes things that simply are lies. There was never any proposal to, again, There was never any proposal to do what was included in the question. There is no such thing, first of all, as single-family zoning. There is R1 zoning. There is R2 zoning. There was never a proposal to build apartment buildings or anything of the like anywhere in R1 housing district. That is a falsehood, and some people have been going around Prairie Village door to door trying to tell people that that is a fact. It is a lie. It was not
Amy Aldrich, Ward 3. Again, my answer is very simple. I'm 100% against any rezoning in the single-family neighborhoods, R1 to be more specific. I'm against that completely. And one thing that kind of disappointed me recently, the mayor went on record in saying at a Kansas Realtors, he was on the panel for, he was there with a couple other mayors, and he said that rezoning is not off the table. Well, that leaves things wide open. That's not fair to us. We deserve clarity, we deserve transparency, and I am against rezoning. Thank you.
I'm Shelby Bartelt in Ward 3. What I would say is, do I support rezoning R1 residential areas? No, I do not. I work as a residential mortgage lender. I live in an R1A zone, and I think it is important that we protect our single-family residences. To that, I would also say that there is currently no rezoning anywhere in the future. Now, I hear what Amy said about the mayor's comments, and to be frank, you're not voting for the mayor tonight or on November 4th. You are voting for a city council member, and we do have a mayoral election next year. So if there are concerns about that, you can absolutely assert that at that time. I think what I would ask is, what are we afraid of? And that's a question that I think we can all sit with as it relates to housing and our community, because I think it is really important that we continue to be a community that is inclusive and welcoming of all individuals and families. And I frankly am sad that there are so many that aren't able to do that.
Kelly Sullivan Ankles, Ward 4 candidate. Here's what I have heard when I've been walking around my ward about what folks might be afraid of. I don't know if I would call it a fear, but a concern that the property they purchased when they moved into their neighborhoods was single-family home property, which is R1 property. And that if that is impacted by rezoning that opens the door for multifamily properties, R2, it will change the nature of the property they purchased and the property they expected to have their, probably for most people, their most significant investment in their life. So I do think that that's an issue. Having any kind of rezoning like that is essentially a taking of your property rights. You buy your property, you have a right to know where you are and where you stand with an R1 single-family property. 95% of the city is single-family properties. That's what makes Prairie Village unique and not necessarily exclusive.
John Meter, Ward 5. Just to be frank, I am never going to vote for zoning changes on the city law that increases population density in Prairie Village. And there's a reason why. When you increase the population density in a city, it brings all kinds of problems with it. We are famous for the Prairie Village lifestyle. We're known around the region. We're becoming known around the country for what a great community we are. That's because of the thoughtful and visionary zoning laws that were passed early on in the history of our city. Those zoning laws, the R1 zoning laws, preserved our single-family neighborhoods. If you increase population density, you'll get more traffic. You'll get tougher parking. You'll begin overcrowding your schools. Those are all things that are going to hurt your property values in the long run. That's why I won't support any zoning changes that increase population density in our city.
Betsy Lawrence, Ward 5. I do not now, and I have never, worked, supported, advocated to rezone residential R1 housing. I have never done that. Now, I know supporters of John have circulated a letter, and I've never met them. I don't know who they are. They never asked me the question of what my position was on this issue, and yet they've circulated to a number of people false information that says that I worked towards that. That is false, and I'll just say it again. I have never worked for, and I do not support changes to residential zoning.
John, you John, we're on a 45-second rebuttal since you were directly referenced.
Well, I'm not aware of my supporters circulating letters like that. I do have a lot of supporters in Ward 5, so it's sometimes hard to keep track of them all.
Dan Pressing, Ward 6. Definite no on rezoning. I think every one of us who purchased a house in Prairie Village purchased it because of the charm of Prairie Village, for what it is, for what we've heard in terms of the single-family homes. If we do rezone, that's going to fundamentally change what Prairie Village is going to look like. For me, it's almost like a bait and switch. Now all of a sudden you're going to have a duplex or a fourplex, multifamily housing. We're an 80-year-old city. We are already one of the most densely populated cities in the state of Kansas. If we go to this type of rezoning, we're only going to add stress on our infrastructure and on our schools. So I say you should have the right to vote on that, and I say no on that. Thank you.
Jim Sellers, Ward 6. I absolutely oppose any effort to rezoning. I am also saddened and troubled that there are individuals that pretend that this settled issue is still under consideration.
Daniel Garrett, Ward 1, Council. I've got a young family. Whether I'm young is debatable, but the kids are young. And I've lived in apartments, I've lived in condos, nothing wrong with that, but I think a lot of people, especially in this city, strive to live in a single-family neighborhood. You're saving up, you're working hard, you want to buy a house and have some security there. So when I'm going around and speaking to residents, safety, family environment, good schools, good parks, these are all the reasons that people list for loving Prairie Village. And I've heard some arguments in terms of affordable housing and things of that nature. I go back to City Hall and taxes. Affordable housing is really affected again by the taxes and the spending, and not necessarily trying to bring in different zoning, multifamily or something along those lines. So I think everybody appreciates Prairie Village for what it is right now, and I am certainly against any zoning changes.
Ward 1. I'll echo the sentiment pretty much across the board up here that zoning is a settled issue in Prairie Village, in large part to resident feedback. The processes around citizens' right to advocate and protest was heard loud and clear, not just over the 2 years before the 2023 elections, but at the ballot box in 2023. I think some of the intentions around the folks that led that process on the council was admirable, to try and create different price points for people to be able to live in Prairie Village. But at the end of the day, residents declined to want to pursue those changes, even study it, and never made it to the Planning Commission. I want to say I do think that this question is a lost opportunity in a forum with only 3 questions to study, because it has been a settled issue for 2 years. At every opportunity, you can look at my record, once the residents got involved, I took votes to moderate the discussion repeatedly, and since the 2023 election, Councilmember Sharp's votes and mine have been the exact same. So this is a settled issue, and if people bring it up at the door, or in the public, it's just not a genuine effort.
Ward 3 and work down that way, just a reminder to give your name before your answer. So Prairie Village is geographically a small community that doesn't experience big swings in population. However, when it comes to city spending, Budgeted expenditures have increased from $33.7 million in 2015 to $56.4 million in 2025, an increase of more than 65%. Prairie Village has the largest budgeted city expenditures per square mile in Kansas. City government administrative salaries have skyrocketed in recent years, and the property tax rate is the highest of any city of the first class in Johnson County. Do you think that the current trajectory of city spending is A, necessary, and B, sustainable? And would you commit to reducing the property tax mill levy annually so city government spending grows no more than the rate of inflation? We'll start with Amy.
Amy Aldridge, Ward 3. For anybody that has seen me at your door, you know I talk way more than I've been speaking tonight. But because these topics are very simple, this is a simple topic. What drives the property tax increases? Spending. Do you think a $30 million city hall is going to decrease your property taxes? The answer is no. It's simple. So a couple things I wanted to also mention is that again, spending drives taxes. That is such a simple concept. That's all you really need to know. So I am committed to stop the frivolous spending. I'm also disappointed in the city council deciding to donate money to the Ukraine and other charities. That's not their role. That is the role of each individual resident to decide where they want their hard-earned money to go. If I want to donate to the Ukraine, let me donate to the Ukraine. If I want to donate to my church, let me do that. That is not city council's responsibility, and I am against it. Thank you.
Shelby Bartelt, Ward 3. Again, I work as a residential mortgage lender. I can calculate the mill levy on the back of my hand. I assure you, what drives taxes is your appraised value. That is exactly what the mill levy is calculated off. Your appraised value equals your annual taxes. And listen, I get it. My husband and I purchased our home in 2023. Our taxes went up 40% in 1 year. 40%. So believe me, I understand the pain. I think what I would ask is for those that are advocating to reduce the mill levy, again, that has already happened in the proposed budget. What services would you like to remove from our spending? Police? Safety? Your streets being plowed after it snows? I mean, to reduce property taxes, the amount that I think most individuals are looking for, is incredibly difficult to do. The median Prairie Village home pays $75 a month in property taxes to the city of Prairie Village. Thank you.
Kelly Sullivan Angles again in Ward 4. I will pick up on that and just say there are things that the city council can do to decrease the city's allocation of property taxes. The city has been assessing all of the taxpayers and our residents in the city on bonds.
We can't hear you.
Oh, you can't hear me? Is that better?
Yeah.
Better? Okay, sorry. Well, what I was trying to get at is, did I get my time back? What I was trying to get at is that there is a way for the city to reduce its allocation of property taxes. The city has been overtaxing our residents on expired bonds. That amount of money could be returned to you, could be allocated to necessary budgeted items for benefits that directly impact citizen needs. That is, moreover, something that can be done immediately to help the property tax impact for residents. There are things that can be done. The mill levy alone is something that was negligible, tiny reduction. So I ran out of time. Talk to me at my table.
John Beater, Ward 5. Pete, I like the way you structured that question. Let me start by saying to the residents of Ward 5, you have my commitment that I will not vote for any mill levy increase until the city cash surplus is reduced back down to its 25% policy level. And so that means, at least for 1 year, maybe 2, I'll be advocating for mill levy decreases. I think it's right. City spending drives city taxation in the long run. Where we work on it is we work on the administrative costs in the city, which have exploded, and we start asking questions on why our city spending has increased so rapidly over the last 10 years. That's the first place come out. Anyone who works on budgets, manages fiscal responsibility, will go after the changes first and try to understand what we got for that extra money we had. I'll be prepared to put extra elbow grease on that in the city council to make sure that we can get some city tax reductions going forward.
Betsy Lawrence, Ward 5, and yes, property taxes are a challenging issue. Our property taxes continue to go up because the appraised value of our homes continue to go up. I agree that the mill levy doesn't really afford the Prairie Village City Council that much opportunity to give meaningful tax relief. It was lowered last time, but what does that mean in our pocket, right? In conjunction with that, of course, services cost more, right? Things don't cost the same that they did 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So we have the combination of these putting pressure on the city budget. I think it's really easy, and it would be really easy for me to stand up here and tell you I'm going to cut your property taxes. But any candidate that tells you that, and anybody on city council that tells you that, two questions. Where in the current city budget specifically are we going to cut? And then importantly, what does it mean in my pocket? Is it meaningful tax relief? Because if you tell me that we're gonna only plow, you know, the residential or the main arteries and not my street, and it's gonna save me $10, I'm gonna say that's not a good place to cut.
Dan Pressing, Ward 6. Spending in our budgets do affect our assessments and our property taxes. And as we've seen over the last 5 years, there's been a 40% increase in spending. One of the ways that I looked at it, and one of the things that shocked me when we talk about our budgets and what we're spending, we've got 4 city administrators with salaries over $700,000. Leewood has only 2, and they've got 11 to 12,000 more people than we have. So yes, we can cut spending, we can cut the mill rate, and we need to.
I'm Jim Sellers, Ward 6, and I'll tell you one thing that we got for our spending increases. Some 90% of the property tax increases on a year-over-year basis over the last several years went straight to the police department. And we are now, as a city, almost fully staffed in the police department for the first time in a long time. I'm fine with that. Again, it's important to keep in mind, the property tax bills that each of us write, 16% of that, or in Ward 6, about $68 a month, goes to Prairie Village. 84% of your property taxes goes to Johnson County, to the fire district, and to schools. When 72% of that $68 goes to public works and police. So show us the money. What are you going to cut? How's it going to impact our quality of life? I don't see it.
Daniel Garrett, Ward 1. Complex issue, a few generalities here first. Was the increase necessary? No. Is it sustainable? No chance. And lastly, we should try to mirror the rate of inflation. I've worked in a state institution, I've handled a substantial budget, and this was higher education. And just because the money comes in doesn't mean we need to spend it. That's not a rule. And when we talk about the budget increase over the past 5 years, another faulty premise is, well, you know, it's this big now, what are we going to cut? We shouldn't be in this position in the first place. So we will have to make some cuts. We will have to kind of do a self-audit and make sure we get this under control. This type of spending increase is absolutely not sustainable, and we need more thoughtful processes in determining future budgets. Thank you.
Taxes and spending is the #1 priority and issue for residents in Prairie Village. I will say, I just want to clarify, the 4 administrative salaries in Prairie Village a total of $700,000, which is a lot different than that sounded from when that comment was made. I will say, I chaired the Finance Committee this year. I was proud to pass the second mill levy reduction in my term. Those are the only 2 mill levy reductions that have happened in Prairie Village in the past 20 years. So there has been an effort as appraised values continue to rise, as this city continues to deliver value on your most important asset, which is your home. We have been reducing the mill levy. Folks need to understand the staff uses a zero-based budgeting process that's open to any city councilor, and the most critical city councils of our taxes and spending do not participate in those budget studies and those discussions with staff heads, which is super important. And I did want to highlight property tax collection, commercial and residential, has gone up $3.5 million from 21 to 26, and we've increased police funding by $3.4 million. So if you're cutting property taxes, it's going to come out of public safety funding.
Edward Boersma, Ward 2. I'm going to repeat Dan. In the past 5 years, our budget has increased over 40%. Think about that. And there's no question, government spending drives property tax increases. For the past 2 years, Prairie Village has operated with a surplus. I think the first thing we can do is take that approximately $2.3 million and give it back to the residents. After that, yes, we are going to cut something because we've been raising over 40% for the past 5 years. It's not sustainable. We should be operating at or below inflation. Thank you.
I think I'm the last one here, right, Keith? You are. Thank you very much. Again, Ron Nelson, Ward 2. And again, it was a bad question. You laughed. You laughed. You laughed because Prairie Village is actually in the lower half of the cities in Johnson County. Now, you talked about the first-class cities in Johnson County. Prairie Village is the smallest first-class city in Johnson County. It also doesn't have auto dealerships on 75th Street. We do, however, have the only rezoning that has happened in Prairie Village in the last 20 years from residential to commercial at 75th and Grove as lofts. Now, again, there has been discussion about that.
So we are already up to
your entire lives here. It would sadden me to see revolutionary decisions being made in the short term that don't take into account our kids and our kids' impact. Finally, potholes aren't Republican or Democrat. They're not PVU or non-PVU. The water supply doesn't lean left or right. The police department doesn't follow one particular ideology. Let's take let's put community over partisanship and come together again with an emphasis not on stoking grievance, but on solving problems.
Dan Presley, Ward 6. Since July, I've been out 2, 3, 4 times a week, knocking on your doors in Ward 6. I've had help, but I have been out there. And I've got to meet you, I've got to see a lot of dogs, and I think everybody's got a Ring doorbell and everybody's got 2 dogs. The thing I've heard is a concern for Prairie Village. And that is what I am doing here. This is why I'm running. And I'm going to ask you, if you believe it's your right to vote on the largest capital city project we've ever had, I want your vote. If you believe in fiscal responsibility and putting a cut to excessive spending, I want your vote. If you believe that you should have the right to vote on something like zoning, I want your vote. If you believe we should repurpose or refocus the funds that are going to go to the city hall on obligations and needs and not wants, I want your vote. I implore you, though, when it comes time to vote, don't give up your vote. You might not get it back. Thank you.
That's Lawrence, Ward 5. And given that this is a PV United forum, I'm actually really surprised one of the questions wasn't about Prairie Village United's thing that is on our ballot, right? The voting's not on our ballot, but what they did get on our ballot is the question that we will all face, which is, shall we abandon our local form of government?
Yes.
So I'm going to speak to that just a little bit. I like having 12 city council members, right? Sometimes I'm in Ward 5, sometimes I agree with Nick Riddell, sometimes I agree with Greg Shelton. Taking away voices from all of us is absolutely the wrong direction. Now, it may be easier to control 6 seats than it is 12, but for us, it's not good for the city, right? So I would encourage everyone to vote no on that initiative that is on our ballot.
This is a unique election for Prairie Village. For the first time in recent memory, we've got a contest in all 6 wards. And across those 6 wards, almost every ward has a similar choice. And I will tell you that from my perspective, there are 6 candidates on this stage who have a point of view that sounds familiar. They want to lower your taxes. They want to protect you on zoning, and they want to vote on City Hall. That would be me. I'm also one of the candidates who, on this stage, who is not supported by the mayor. Okay? And I will be a stalwart opposition, a friendly opposition to the mayor when I get to the city council, if you elect me. Let me talk a little bit about Prairie Village. Our city is 80 years old. It was founded around the concept and the ideal of a New England town hall, where neighbors got together, we talked, we listened, we worked things out. It was very civil. It was very community-oriented. I agree with Betsy that I think we need to become more civil in our city politics. And if you think about it, something happened in the last 8 to 10 years. Something happened where our politics became more uncivil, where we became divided. I think that's the outside interests that have entered our city government. The outside interests plowing money into our campaigns, trying to influence our candidates. I think that's inappropriate. I think this election is important because you have an opportunity to vote for neighbors, not politicians, residents like you who want to move our city forward. I am not beholden to any party. I am not beholden to any interest. I will work with anyone who wants to work towards more accountability, more transparency, and more fiscal responsibility. Thank you.
No, you meant not with the closing arguments.
Oh, not
That's
the closing.
Did
Okay.
he mention you?
He did mention me, he also mentioned.
All right.
So you want to
If
give
you'd like 45 seconds, I will close. Go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to address the implication of outside money and my contribution. So here's the deal. I filed the campaign report, right? And every candidate up here who properly filed their disclosures, all of you know exactly who contributed to my campaign. There are absolutely people from outside of Prairie Village, and you know who they are. They are professional colleagues who I have worked with over decades. They don't care, and they have asked nothing about Prairie Village. It's humbling because they contributed to my campaign because they worked with me and they know the kind of leader I am. And so they say, hey, if you're running, we know you're going to be great, and that's why we're giving you money. With respect to the mayor, he contributed to my campaign 3%, and I never met him before I filed to run. And he accepted my invitation like everybody else's, all right?
Kelly Sullivan Angles, again, Ward 4. Thank you all for coming here tonight. It's really been an interesting thing. I do share a lot, as John mentioned, I do share a lot of alignment with many of my colleagues up here, with many of the folks up here. I'm glad to say that. It doesn't mean that I'm not an independent thinker. As I said earlier, I'm a business lawyer. I advise boards of directors all the time. I understand the issues. And I will represent smart, common sense, reasonable priorities that benefit the citizens. Things that benefit you all directly, not things that benefit anybody's political aspirations. This is about small government trying to do what's best for our city. So that's what I'm for. That means return to common sense priorities, right? And transparency. I wanted to say a minute about transparency, which I don't think I got to say earlier. As part of my work with boards of directors, we always make sure everyone has all the information they need in order to make decisions they should be making. That information should be available to all of the council members before they make any decisions. They should be able to share that with their wards and with the Prairie Village residents so that folks know what's happening behind the scenes before a decision is made, not after a decision is made. I think that's it.
Shelby Bartelt, Ward 3. I just want to say it really has been an honor to be here tonight. I'm here tonight, I showed up, and I'm missing my 7-year-old's drive-in movie with the Belinda PTA. That's a choice that I made because being in this room means a lot to me. This community means a lot to me. That same 7-year-old coming home from our walk last night saw our neighbor placing a vote yes sign in his yard. And it started a conversation. We got a tour and got to know our neighbor. And I would never forget, as we were leaving, my 7-year-old looking at me and saying, "See, Mom, just because we don't agree, we can still be friends." I'm here in this room because I want to be a friend to my neighbors, even those that disagree with me, those that have different signs in the yard. And I know many of you didn't come here with the intention to have your mind changed. I know that you are passionate about your candidate and the reason that you want to vote, and I respect that. You know, many of us are living in homes that are appreciating faster than anywhere else in the country. But we're also sitting in a room of privilege. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't see one person of color in this room. And I find that disheartening, to be honest. I'd also like to point out that there was mention of the mayor donating to campaigns. And I want to be clear. As shown on my campaign expenditure report, the mayor did donate $500 to my campaign. I independently returned that money. I haven't made that publicly stated because it's not a political play. There have been posts and information spewing that, but nobody simply asked me the question. And so I'm here tonight, and I would encourage each of you to ask the questions. I'm available at forums. We have coffees on Sundays, and I'm often gardening, maybe not, in my front yard with my children. I'm an independent thinker, and I'm here because I care about this village. Thank you.
Amy Aldridge, Ward 3. Again, I promise to be a strong, independent voice for all residents, especially those in Ward 3 that I will represent. I am doing this because I am passionate about keeping Prairie Village the great place that it is. And it's been wonderful to meet everyone tonight. We're all making sacrifices. I'm actually missing a funeral for this. My fiance's mother died last week, and I knew that she would find this more important for me to be here because I've worked so hard up to this point. So I want to thank you all for coming tonight. I want to thank you all for listening. If you have any questions for me, please reach out. But again, one of the main reasons why I'm running, and I think it bears repeating, let us vote. That's our money. We deserve the right to vote. Thank you so much for your time.
Again, Ron Nelson, Ward 2. Thank you all for showing up. Thank you all for coming, for listening respectfully, and for listening to all of us. Thank you also to the candidates all of whom showed up this time, and for answering the questions. We all came to Prairie Village and moved to Prairie Village for a reason. That is because the neighborliness, the community, as Shelby said, the interaction, the people that we want to be with, we want to be around, we enjoy being around, and the housing that we enjoy being around, the parks, the recreation, everything of that. That comes at a price. Now, if you want to move to Edwardsville and have what Edwardsville has, go ahead and do it. We're in Prairie Village, and we like Prairie Village, and if you want to slash and burn, go ahead, you can move to Edwardsville. That's not Prairie Village. We have what we have because we pay attention to what our residents want and need and desire. That is the issue in this, whether to slash and burn without paying attention or listening to the experts, to the professional administrators, and to others instead of a Facebook friend or somebody who is a friend of a friend on Facebook. That isn't factual information. There is a lot of performative anxiety. There is a lot of performative angst going on, and that is not community.
Edward Boersma, Ward 2. I've been to Edwardsville. I bought 6 beautiful blueberry bushes there. They've got a great community. We moved to Prairie Village because our good friends lived across state line, really close to Prairie Village. We've been through here. We love the walkable neighborhoods. We live close to the shops, so our boys could walk back and forth. We love the beautiful single-family neighborhood and the openness to everybody. As your Ward 2 representative or city council member, I will listen to your voices. I will make sure you have an opportunity to vote. If there's ever a question that people should vote, I will always lean towards the necessity of voting. I am very fiscally responsible, and I think increasing our budget over 40% for the past 5 years is not responsible. I don't believe operating with a surplus is responsible. I think our governing body needs to be responsible. It needs to remember that government spending and nothing else drives property taxes. That's it. And as your city council member, I will make sure we'll have short-term, long-term plans for our infrastructure. Big deal, big part of Prairie Village. We've got an aging infrastructure. Building a $30 million or $23 million city hall and the rest to remodel. Yeah, the municipal building needs to be remodeled, absolutely. But as John previously stated, not at $1,000 a square foot. We can be more reasonable. And I think that's how we should all be to each other, show each other grace when we have differences, and be reasonable. Thank you.
Thank you to everybody for being here tonight. And again, thank you to the Prairie Village United organization for putting on this event. I unfortunately am going to spend a couple of moments of my time just trying to maybe correct a couple of statements. I will say all of the plans for the Municipal Campus Project have been made public. Go back in particular to the 2 meetings in November of 2024. We went through a number of different options for the church, for the city municipal campus. It's concerning that there would be illusions that there are plans out there that have not been made public. The City Hall building, when it was built in 1971, was made to expand, and it has since expanded. We've added a police department to the side of it. We've added a cell phone tower and utility easement behind it. Those expansions have already been used. So the current site you have to build up. If you do build up on the Municipal Campus Project, you're looking at spending 70 to 80% of the cost of a new build. One thing I want to try to convey to residents is how my thought process got to supporting the project. And it was by looking at those numbers and saying, we can spend 70 to 80% to put a Band-Aid on the needs of the PD and the City Hall staff and have to address it again in 30 or 40 years, or we can build entirely new. And we can do that with current revenues in your property taxes to the tune of $47 a year, and then we can use the revenue from this wonderful development here at Meadowbrook when those dollars hit the books in 2027. We also must acknowledge, I really do feel like it was a lost opportunity to discuss the abandonment question on the ballot on November 4th. Prairie Village United, by putting a question of abandonment on the ballot, there is no guarantee of any outcome after residents would vote no. Anyone telling you, oh, well, this is what's going to happen and this is what it would look like is false. And there would be a whole bunch of cascading things that would happen, but the through line through all that is uncertainty. So I hate to end on maybe more of a negative message, but if reelected, my second term will look a lot like my first term. I found a partnership with Prairie Village United endorsed candidate Terry O'Toole in my ward. My newsletter reaches over 2,000 Prairie Village residents. I've had 3 town halls. I've been open. I came to every forum, and I encourage you to turn out and vote.
Daniel Garrett, Ward 1, again, appreciate the opportunity. The turnout is incredible. When I started this, I talked about a couple of prevailing ideas: transparency in government, listening to the residents, and then civility. I'm going to hit on that last one for a bit. I think the national politics have filtered down to a great extent, and I've heard some fact-checking and who went to what forum and things of that nature that I don't really think have anything to do with the issues. And I think we need to remember we're in a local election here, and everybody in this room cares about Prairie Village. Whether you think we should vote or not, or tag, whatever, everybody does. And when I go around knocking on doors, I'll go to houses that don't necessarily have my sign out there. Also, people will come out and they'll say, hey, I'm not voting for you. And I think they're trying to save me time, which I appreciate. But at the same time, they do come out and we talk, we have conversations. I've had conversations with people that are completely opposed to whatever, my personal opinions are. And again, that's the heartening, the fulfilling part of running in a local election. If you told me I was running for city council and I was going to hear the term dark money thrown around, I would have had that reaction at first. I still kind of do, but again, it's fulfilling, it's heartening to be able to speak with people regardless of what their points of view are. People are educated, they want to know, they want to be informed. They show up on a weeknight to listen to us kind of ramble on, for however long we're doing it. So I really want to thank everybody for that participation. I think there is some discourse that needs to get toned down, and it's probably more at this level, because I really just don't see it when I'm out talking with the residents. So again, thank you for your time tonight. Prairie Village has been so great to me and my family these 3 years, and I would love to do something to give back. Thank you.
An outstanding evening. Ronald, I thought you had one more shot for me there at the end, but I guess we'll save it for afterwards. I want to bring Kevin back up before we close out the night.
How about one last round of applause for all of the people? Thank you for everybody here showing up. I apologize that it is a little warm in here. We did the best we could. But to let you know, you did have a seat. There's actually an overflow room that had about 35 people, 40 people in it. They didn't have audio or video back there. That's why they asked them to introduce themselves before they spoke every time. So that was more for them, not you guys. I apologize. One last part to our event tonight. As you know, we've got the tables set up around here. They have a ward number on them. The candidates are going to take a quick bio break, grab a drink of water if they need it, and then will be escorted to their table. If you have a question that wasn't addressed tonight, feel free to ask the candidate at that point in time. Again, thank you to PV United. Thank you for the staff and the security that helped us out this evening. With that, I would say thank you for coming, and if you guys want to take a quick break and then head over to your tables.